Hi, my name is Amanda, and today we are going to be talking about exploring the history of the landscape that surrounds us, specifically relating to Natural Bridge State Park in North Adams, Massachusetts. How do you think that our landscape was formed the way it is today? The mountains, the forests, the rivers, the rocks, how do you think all that got here?
Glaciers.
Have you ever thought of it? Yes.
Dinosaurs.
Sure. Glaciers are one of the aspects of how our landscape has been formed. It's a big part of it. Would you believe me if so pretty much from glaciers came water, and that was a big part of what sculpted our landscape. We'll get to that in a little bit. Some background. The Natural Bridge in North Adams, Massachusetts is the only naturally formed white marble bridge in North America. So it's a super unique, rare occurrence that not many people know about. The bridge overhangs a 60-foot deep chasm that the Hudson Brook flows through below. The marble is dated to be over 500 million years old. And but how do you think the marble got here? It's 500 million years old.
I don't know. How'd it get here?
Let me tell you. So we have to start from the beginning. The farthest we can go back with the geological history of this place is 550 million years ago. At this time, the land was covered by a shallow, warm sea that was filled with lots of little creatures and critters. And when these creatures died, their bones and shells sunk to the bottom of the sea, and they are composed of calcium carbonate, which is the mineral that makes limestone. So after hundreds of thousands of years of all of these little critters and their bones collecting at the bottom of the sea, there became this thick mass of limestone. Fast forward 50 million years, and the sea has gone away, and the tectonic plates of North America and Europe start to collide, creating mountains by pushing upwards, creating these big, tall mountain ranges that were 16,000 to 20,000 feet high. For reference, Mount Greylock, which is just around the corner, is only 3,491 feet currently. So there's been some erosion since then, bringing the mountains down. This tectonic plate collision and the mountain building event is known as orogeny, and that's a word you should remember. Orogeny is the mountain building, and it's that pushing up of the plates and everything. So as this happened, the limestone from the sea that was at the bottom became kind of trapped in the middle underneath these new mountains. And with all this heat and pressure over hundreds of thousands of years, this limestone transformed into marble through a process called metamorphism. Did I say that right? Sure. So now this marble is there and continues to be heated and pressurized and becomes this super high crystalline product that is there today. You probably have seen marble. Do you have any examples of where you've seen marble or what it's used for in today's world?
Floors.
My countertop.
Countertops.
Don't mind.
Anything else?
Toothpaste powder.
Toothpaste powder, tombstones, it's everywhere. It's very it's very sought after for architectural purposes. So there was all this limestone deep underneath these 16,000, 20,000 foot peaks of the Hoosic Mountain Range specifically, and the Taconic Mountain Range. So over the years, the erosion has brought these peaks down to much lower because Mount Greylock is the highest, and like I said before, it's only 3,491 feet, so much lower than 20,000 like it probably once was. So because of this erosion, the mountains are currently at their roots, technically, because the marble is their bedrock, so it's the bottom. But marble is a very easily eroded rock. It is easily eroded by water and sediment, which is how the Natural Bridge has been shaped. As water and sediment has flowed throughout the ground and throughout this area of the Hudson, following the Hudson Brook, this chasm has just been eroded down 60 feet, but this marble bridge stayed up above somehow magically. Other forms that have been left behind by the glacial meltwater from the glaciers that existed there were till, which is just a bunch of sediment left over, like rocks, stones, dirt, mounds of it just in certain places. Some of this is evident at Natural Bridge. Glacial striations is another thing shown at Natural Bridge, which are just these long parallel scratches in the marble and the bedrock. And then potholes, which I have an image of. Oh, wrong image. Potholes they form in the brook, and they're pretty visible in the brook. They form with the water as it's flowing. Sediment gets caught and swirls in a specific spot and erodes these deep little circles. And if you look down through the chasm of Natural Bridge, you can see many of these along the walls. I skipped the glaciers. So the glaciers were here 2 million years ago at least, maybe a little bit before. During this time, there was a mile-high thick sheet of ice, which was that image. So if you were in a building, this is a mile-high thick sheet of ice up above us. She'd be the size of an ant in comparison to that model that I stole from the internet. So there's this mile-high thick sheet of ice, and it keeps advancing and receding and going back and forth, pushing till with it that I mentioned before, that rock sediment. As it's receding away, its meltwater is what's eroding away at that marble, just breaking right down through all of it, going down, 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 creating that 60-foot deep chasm. That's just our example here, but that has happened all over the world. Orogeny and glaciers have had influences across all the landscapes around the world. I want you to understand the importance and significance of our landscape's history. I find it so interesting to think about where all of this came from, and like how it was formed. What do you think about it? Like, do you think it's interesting? I don't know if you've ever really stepped back and thought about how these mountains got here and why they look the way they do today.
It's crazy to think how that has meltwater compared to that.
I agree. I always thought the mountains were here.
Yeah, and before looking into it more, I never really thought about how they got here. The history of it. 500 million years ago.